In Depth with Dr. BREN, A Path with Heart series. Chapter 11. Searching for the Buddha, a lamp unto ourselves. When we are faced with a variety of spiritual teachings and practices, we must keep a genuine sense of inquiry. What is the effect of these teachings and practices on myself and others? In his last words, the Buddha said, "We must be a lamp unto ourselves." We live in extraordinary times when the world's spiritual traditions are open to us, and often we find they can be contradictory. And so where does that leave us? What are we to believe? In the beginning, we tend to believe all that we hear, and then at some point we begin to see these contradictions, and either we leave the practice, or better, we become our own spiritual tradition, questing and inquiry. And this chapter is really about how do you know your truth? To make spiritual practice come alive, we must discover within ourselves our own way to become conscious, to live a life of the Spirit. Religion and philosophy have their value, but in the end, all we can do is open to mystery and live a path with heart. Not idealistically, not without difficulties, but as Buddha did, in the very midst of our humanness and our life on this earth. It is worth asking ourselves, what is it that we can see and know directly for ourselves? Are these simple truths not enough? Our liberation and happiness arise from our own deep knowing, and it doesn't matter what anyone says to the contrary. Our spiritual life becomes unshakable only when we are connected with our own realization of truth. The irony is, this truth is inside. And only when you know in yourself when things are wholesome, blameless, commended by the wise, and when adopted and practiced lead to welfare and happiness, should you practice them. When we are faced with a variety of spiritual teachings and practices, we must keep a genuine sense of inquiry. What is the effect of these teachings and practices on myself and others? How is it working? How is my relationship to it? Am I getting caught, frightened, lost in confusion? Am I being led to greater kindness and greater understanding, to greater peace or freedom? Only we can discover whether our path must lead us through the highest states of samadhi or through healing the wounds of our heart. Spiritual practice can never be fulfilled by imitation of an outer form, of perfection. This leads us only to acting spiritual. In the beginning of your spiritual practice, it may feel like you're being led in the opposite direction. As we awaken, we tend to see our faults and fears, our limitations and selfishness, more clearly than ever before. These first difficulties on the path include some rude awakenings. We may even wonder if we're on the right path with heart, or even on the right road at all. Doubts may arise, and we may be encouraged or discouraged, and we may blame our practice or our community, and we may even blame our teacher. It's important to remember it's our very search for perfection outside of ourselves that causes our suffering. In fact, it's not perfection we must seek, but freedom of the heart. In many spiritual traditions, there's only one important question to answer, and that question is, who am I? When we begin to answer it, we are filled with images and ideals. The negative images of ourselves that we wish to change, and the perfect and positive images of some great spiritual potential. Yet the spiritual path is not so much about changing ourselves as it is about listening to the fundamentals of our being. What images do we hold of ourselves, of our spiritual life, of others? Are all these images and ideas who we really are? Is this our true nature? Liberation comes not as a process of self-improvement, of perfecting the body or personality. Instead, in living a spiritual life, we are challenged to discover another way of seeing. Rather than seeing with our usual images, ideals, and hopes, we learn to see with the heart, which loves, rather than with the mind, which compares and defends and defines. This is a radical way of being that takes us beyond perfection. It is as if our spiritual practice, with its ups and downs, can be held in the heart of the Buddha. From this perspective, all can be included as our practice. It is discovered when we are quite present, yet not seeking a thing. When we have come to rest in this moment, there then appears a sense of wholeness and integrity, of strength and beauty. That which we were running around the world seeking is here at our door. Over and over again we learn this simplicity. If we had been seeking strength through control over ourselves and others, we discover that was only a false version of strength. That truth and inherent strength appears in moments of deep silence and wholeness, when we rest unshakably with things as they are. What we seek is who we are. It is nearer than near. This is not a matter of changing anything, but of not grasping anything, and of opening our eyes and our heart. Spiritual attainment is not the result of special esoteric knowledge, the study of great texts and sutras, and the systematic learning of great works of religion. Nor is it found in the realm of control or power. It doesn't attach to things being a certain way, and it holds no blame. It involves neither the control over another person, nor even control of ourselves. It stems rather from an abundant wisdom of heart. The wisdom of heart is here, just now, at any moment. It has always been here, and it is never too late to find it. The wholeness and freedom we seek is our own true nature, who we really are. Whenever we start a spiritual practice, read a spiritual book, or contemplate what it means to live well, we have begun the inevitable process of opening to this truth, the truth of life itself. Even if it takes a long, long time, there's no turning back. Namaste. Now for the meditation. As you reflect on your spiritual life, you can ask yourself, what do you know in your heart about the truth of life? Do you actually need more knowledge than this? Or is this simple, fundamental wisdom enough? What keeps you from living simple truths you know? What would you need to let go of to do so? What confusion and fear interfere with your compassion? What strength and trust would be needed to live wisely and well? How would you change your life so that your body, heart, and mind might become more unknowing, more transparent to this light within? Can you imagine knowing less and becoming wiser? Let yourself sense a simple, loving presence you can bring into each moment. Be aware of how your spiritual life can guide you towards this. Namaste.